Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel SQLEdge. This is our SQL Server Foundation course, which is designed for beginners, students, and working professionals who want to build a career in data engineering and database development. In our last session, we covered how to download and install SQL Server Developer Edition as well as the installation of the SSMS. Today, we will learn how to connect to the SQL Server for the very first time, and then we will see the different authentication methods that we are going to use for connecting to the SQL Server database. On my screen, if you see, we are having the one diagram which shows there is a centralized database server we are having, and there are different machines we are having: developer machine 1, developer machine 2, 3, and 4. So SQL Server is one of the database, we could say, which is localized or which is located at a central location, and there are several developer machines are connected from developer machine 1 to developer machine 4. So SQL Server and the SSMS is not the same, or we can say whatever the SQL Server Management Studio we have downloaded, that is not a SQL Server itself, right? So SQL Server and SSMS are two different things. What we can say is SSMS is the client tool that we can use to connect to the SQL Server. So there are different methods we are having, different methods we are having for connecting SQL Server to the SSMS, right? So let's see how we can connect to the SQL Server using Management Studio. In the yesterday's session, in the last session, we have seen we have downloaded the SQL Server as well as we have downloaded the SSMS. So just go to your start menu and select all programs. So on your start menu, we can see all the programs will be listed out here. So what you can do, you can search for the SQL Server Management Studio. You will see there is an SQL Server Management Studio icon is available. Click on open and the SQL Server connection window will be opened out here. Let it open and we will see what are the different options we are having into this login window. Now this login window is open, which is the connection window for the SQL Server. We can see this is now currently we are at the login option, and we are able to see there are several options we are having here. Same have been I have listed out here. We can just go through the screen, PPT screen, and we can see the first one we are having is a server type. So server type, by default it is selected as a database engine. But let's go to the SSMS and see what are the different options available under this server type. When I selected the drop down, I could see there are several options available like database engine, analysis services, reporting services, integration services, and Azure SSIS integration runtime. So these are again a different kinds of database systems we are having. Analysis services is used for analytics, reporting service is used for reporting purposes, integration services is used for the ETL processes. In short, like this SSMS, there are different other tools also available like SSAS, which stands for SQL Server Analysis Services, SSRS, which is SQL Server Reporting Services, and SSIS, which is stand for SQL Server Integration Services. Now currently we are going to see the SQL Server database. So by default we can choose this option, database engine, out here. Next, you need to specify the name of the server. Here we can specify the name of the server or the IP address. If your SQL Server is installed on your local machine, we can specify the local or just a period or a IP address of that machine. Either desktop name also should be fine as a server name if SQL Server is installed on our machine. Right? Currently, my SQL Server as well as SQL Server Management Studio. Keep in mind these two are two different things. SQL Server is a kind of database, and SQL Server Management Studio, that is nothing but SSMS, is a client tool to connect to the server, right? So as both of these applications or the database as well as the SSMS is installed on my same machine, my server name will be the local machine name. Is We can see the server name as a local machine name here. But let's see this diagram here. When we are working in a company, when we are working for an organization, there will be a single server which can be accessed by the multiple peoples within the team, right? So all the team members are going to work in a same server. So how they will connect? There will be a dedicated server name to the Microsoft SQL Server, and this server name should be used as a server name for each of these developer machines. So developer 1, developer 2, developer 3, 4, as many developers can use the same SQL Server name as their server name while logging in into the SQL Server. So this is how the real-time diagram or real-time architecture of the SQL Server along with the developer machines will look like. So all the machines will use SSMS is as the client tool or as the connection manager to connect with the centralized database server, or we can call a centralized SQL server. The next option we are having here is, you can just go here. The next option we are having is a authentication. Right, so in authentication, we are having two options, Windows authentication or SQL Server authentication. Right, so there are two options available. We can go back to the SSMS. We can see by default it is a Windows authentication, and when it is selected as a Windows authentication, we can see the username and the password is hidden here. Right, so what is this Windows authentication and what are the different other options we are having? Let's just see different other options first. We can see here are different options we are having. SQL Server authentication, then mixed mode authentication we are having, enter password and much more. So basically Windows authentication or SQL Server authentication, these two authentications will be used to connect to the SQL Server instance. By default, when the SQL Server is installed on a local machine, the Windows authentication will be the default authentication where we don't need the username and password. But yeah, this can be changed while downloading and installing the SQL Server instance. Yesterday or in the last video, we have seen how to install the SQL Server on our machine. So during installation of the SQL Server, we can choose this authentication. If we choose the mixed mode authentication while installation, we can have both Windows authentication as well as SQL Server authentication. So when we have the SQL Server authentication, while installation only, we need to provide the username and password. Otherwise, we will be able to connect using Windows authentication directly without username and password. Right? So just click on the connect icon and you will be connected to the SQL Server database. Right, so now we have connected to the SQL Server. We can see several options we are having here. That all options we are going to explore one by one in the upcoming sessions. Just one thing we can say, we can click on the new query, and here in the new query window we have to write our queries. So whatever the SQL code we'll be having, that we are going to write in this query window. How to do that? Let me just show you once again. Click on the connect icon, then give the details like server type, server name, authentication, and click on connect button. Once you click on connect, you will be connected to the SQL Server. Now you can click on this new query button here. You can see at the left top corner. Click on the new query and the new query window will be opened. So this window is called as a query window, and in this query window we are going to write the different SQL queries which can be run against a particular database, right? So where we can type a SQL queries and execute that using the execute button. So that we are going to start from the very next video. We will be going to start actual syllabus and the different terms and topics in the SQL Server. Just to revise, we will just revise it once again. SSMS is a client tool used to connect to the SQL Server, right? And it is not the server itself. server is something else, and SSMS is the client tool we are having, right? So usually database server, that is nothing but the SQL server, will be on a dedicated machine, and developers will connect to the server using SSMS from the respective, or we can say the local computers, right? So the server will be on some other machine, and developers will connect to that server, SQL server or the database server, using SSMS as the client tool. By giving some login credentials, they will connect to the server as shown in this diagram out here, right? So this is how we can connect to the SQL server. Again, one more thing, while connecting to the server, we have to give the authentication that can be changed while installation of the SQL server. Either we can choose Windows authentication, or we can use the mixed mode authentication, where we can give the username and password as well, right? So that's it for the today's session. We learned how to connect to the SQL server and explored the different authentication modes, explored the different server types, right? What is mixed mode authentication, that we have learned. So in the next video, we will start the basics of creating the databases tables and writing the simple queries inside a SQL Server database. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe the SQLEdge YouTube channel, and press the bell icon so that you don't miss any upcoming tutorials videos. Thank you all. We will see you in the next video soon.